Alex stared at his computer screen, watching lines of code blur together. The office was almost empty now. Most people had left hours ago, but he was still there, trying to fix a stubborn bug that had been driving him crazy all week. The only sounds were the gentle hum of computers and the distant cleaning crew working on another floor. He rubbed his tired eyes and reached for his coffee cup, only to find it empty again. That was his fourth cup today, and it was already past 9 in the evening. Maybe it was time to call it a day and try again tomorrow with fresh eyes. Just as he was about to save his work and shut down, he heard soft footsteps approaching his desk. Alex looked up to see Maya walking toward him, clutching a notebook tightly against her chest. She looked nervous, which was unusual for someone who could explain complex computer algorithms without breaking a sweat. Maya worked in the research department on the same floor. Alex had seen her around for the past few months. Since she transferred from the company's branch in another city, she was brilliant. Everyone knew that during team meetings. She would present ideas that made even the senior developers pause and think, but she always seemed a bit distant, like she was more comfortable talking to computers than people. "Hey Alex," Maya said quietly, glancing around to make sure they were alone. "Do you have a minute? I need to ask you something, and it's kind of personal." Alex pushed back from his desk and turned his chair to face her. "Sure. What's up? Everything okay?" Maya shifted from one foot to the other, clearly uncomfortable. She opened her notebook, then closed it again. "This is really embarrassing, but I don't know who else to ask. You seem like someone who's good with people, and I've noticed you're always friendly with everyone. Thanks, I guess," Alex said with a small smile. "But what do you need help with?" Maya took a deep breath. "Someone asked me out on a date." Alex raised his eyebrows, surprised. "That's great. Good for you." "No, you don't understand," Maya said quickly. "I've never been on a date before. I don't know what I'm supposed to do or say. I spend all my time working and studying. I've been focused on my career since college, and I never really learned how to do the whole dating thing." She sat down in the empty chair next to Alex's desk, looking defeated. "The guy from the marketing department, Ryan, asked me to dinner this weekend. He seems nice, and I said yes because I thought it might be good to try something new. But now I'm terrified. What if I mess it up? What if I say something weird or don't know how to act?" Alex could see genuine worry in her eyes. Maya was someone who always had answers, who could solve complex problems in minutes. But this was clearly something that had her completely stumped. "I was wondering," Maya continued, "if you could maybe teach me, like, give me a crash course in how dating works. I know it sounds stupid, but I really don't want to embarrass myself." Alex leaned back in his chair, processing what she was asking. It wasn't stupid at all, actually. Everyone had things they weren't good at, and it took courage to admit it and ask for help. "You want me to teach you about dating?" he asked, making sure he understood correctly. "Exactly," Maya said, looking relieved that he wasn't laughing at her. "I've been thinking about it like learning any new skill. There must be rules and patterns, right? Things people expect on dates. I just need someone to explain it to me." Alex couldn't help but smile at the way she was approaching romance like a research project. It was so typically Maya. "Well, I'm not exactly a dating expert, but I've been on a few dates in my time. I suppose I could share what I know." "Really?" Maya's face lit up. "That would be amazing. I was thinking we could meet somewhere tomorrow evening. I could take notes, maybe ask questions about different scenarios." "Notes?" Alex chuckled. "Maya, dating isn't really something you can study for like an exam. But there have to be some basic guidelines, right?" she insisted. "Like, how long should you maintain eye contact? What's an appropriate amount of personal space? How do you know if someone is interested in you?" Alex realized she was completely serious. She really was planning to approach this like an academic subject. It was both endearing and slightly concerning. "Okay, how about this?" he said. "Why don't you come over to my place tomorrow evening? We can order some food and just talk through it. But Maya, the most important thing about dating is being yourself. It's not about following a script. I know, Maya said quickly. But I still need to understand the basics. I don't want to do something obviously wrong and ruin my chances. Alex found himself wondering why it mattered so much to her. Maya was smart, funny when she relaxed, and definitely attractive. Any guy would be lucky to go out with her. But he could see that her confidence, which was so strong in professional settings, completely disappeared when it came to personal relationships. All right, he agreed. Come by around 7 tomorrow. We'll have dinner and talk about dating basics. But promise me you won't stress too much about this. Ryan asked you out because he likes you already, just as you are. Maya stood up, clutching her notebook again. Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate this. I'll come prepared with questions. And maybe we can create a plan for different conversation topics. As she walked away, Alex shook his head with amusement. Only Maya would want to create a plan for casual conversation. But there was something sweet about her determination to get this right. She approached everything with such intensity and focus. He turned back to his computer, but found it hard to concentrate on the code anymore. Instead, he was thinking about tomorrow evening and wondering what exactly he had gotten himself into. Teaching someone about dating seemed like a big responsibility. What if he gave her bad advice? What if she took everything to literally more than that? He was starting to realize that he was looking forward to spending time with Maya outside of work. He'd always been curious about what she was like when she wasn't in professional mode. Tomorrow evening might be more interesting than either of them expected. Alex finally shut down his computer and gathered his things. As he walked to the elevator, he found himself smiling. Maya's request was definitely the most unusual thing anyone had asked him to do, but something told him it was going to be an evening to remember. Alex knocked on Maya's apartment door at exactly 7 o'clock, carrying a bag of takeout from their favorite Thai restaurant. He figured food might help make the whole situation feel less awkward. When Maya opened the door, his jaw nearly dropped. She had transformed her living room into what looked like a classroom. There was a whiteboard propped against one wall, covered in neat handwriting. Topics like conversation starters, body language basics, and appropriate compliments were written in different colored markers. Her coffee table was covered with notebooks, printed articles, and even a few dating advice books from the library. Welcome to Dating 101, Maya announced proudly, gesturing toward her setup. I've been researching all day. Did you know there are actual studies about optimal eye contact? Duration? 3 to 5 seconds is apparently ideal for showing interest without being creepy. Alex set the food down and stared at the whiteboard. Maya, you've turned romance into a science project. Well, isn't it? She asked seriously. I mean, if there are patterns in human behavior that can be studied and understood, why not apply that to dating? Look, I even made flashcards for different conversation topics. She held up a stack of index cards, each one neatly written with questions like what's your favorite type of music? And do you have any interesting hobbies? Alex couldn't help but laugh. Okay, this is definitely the most organized approach to dating I've ever seen. But Maya, dating isn't really about following a script. It's about connecting with someone. But how do you connect if you don't know what to say? Maya asked, looking genuinely confused. I can talk for hours about computer algorithms or data analysis, but put me in front of someone I'm supposed to be romantic with, and my brain just freezes. Alex sat down on her couch and patted the spot next to him. Come here. Let's start with something basic. Forget the cards and the whiteboard for a minute. Maya reluctantly set down her flashcards and joined him on the couch. Though she kept a careful distance between them, first lesson, Alex said gently. Good conversation happens when you're genuinely interested in the other person, not because you're following a list of approved topics, but because you actually want to know about them, okay? Maya said, pulling out a pen to take notes. No notes, Alex said, gently taking the pen away. Just listen. Tell me, what do you actually want to know about Ryan? Not what you think you should ask, but what you're curious about. Maya thought for a moment. Well, I guess I wonder what he does outside of work. He always seems happy, and I wonder what makes him that way. And he mentioned he travels a lot, which sounds interesting since I've barely been anywhere. Perfect, Alex said. See, you already know what you want to talk about. It's not about having the right questions memorized. It's about being curious. Maya nodded slowly, but Alex could see she was still tense. But what if I say something boring? What if he thinks I'm weird because all I do is work? Maya, you're not boring, Alex said firmly. You're passionate about your work. And that's attractive. The right person will find your intelligence and dedication interesting. Not weird, really? She asked, and Alex was surprised to hear uncertainty in her voice. Maya was always so confident at work. Really, he confirmed. Now, let's practice just having a normal conversation. Forget you're preparing for a date. Just talk to me like I'm someone you're getting to know. Maya straightened up and took a deep breath. Hello, Alex. How was your day today? She said in a stiff, formal voice that sounded nothing like her usual self. Alex winced. Okay, we need to work on that. You sound like you're conducting a job interview. Try again, but this time, just be yourself. But what if myself isn't good enough for dating? Maya asked quietly. The vulnerability in her voice caught Alex off guard. He realized that underneath all the research and preparation, Maya was genuinely scared of being rejected for who she was. Hey, he said softly, look at me. You're more than good enough. You're brilliant. You're funny when you let yourself relax, and you care about people. That's what matters. Maya met his eyes, and for a moment, the nervous energy that usually surrounded her seemed to fade. You really think so? I know so, Alex said. Now, how about we order that food and just have dinner like to normal people? No flashcards. No whiteboard, just us talking. Maya glanced at her carefully prepared materials, then back at Alex. Slowly, she nodded. Okay? But if I mess up, you'll tell me, right? You won't mess up, Alex assured her. And even if you stumble a bit, that's normal. Everyone does. As they unpacked the Thai food, Maya gradually began to relax. Without her notes and preparation to fall back on, she had no choice but to just be herself. And as they ate, Alex watched her transform from the anxious student into the Maya he recognized from work, sharp, curious, and surprisingly witty. You know, she said, picking at her pad thai. I've been so focused on learning the rules of dating that I forgot it's supposed to be fun. Exactly, Alex said. It's not a test you have to pass. It's just two people spending time together and seeing if they enjoy each other's company. Maya smiled, and it was the first genuine smile Alex had seen from her all evening. That actually sounds much less terrifying when you put it that way. Good, Alex said. Because that's all dating really is. Everything else is just details. As the evening continued, Alex found himself genuinely enjoying Maya's company. Away from the pressure of her dating preparation, she was engaging and thoughtful. She asked interesting questions and shared stories about her work that made him laugh. He started to understand why Ryan had asked her out in the first place. Thank you, Maya said as they finished eating. This is helping more than all my research did. That's because you're actually doing it now, Alex pointed out. You're having a real conversation instead of trying to follow a script. Maya looked at the whiteboard and flashcards scattered around her living room. Maybe I went a little overboard with the preparation. Maybe just a little. Alex agreed with a grin. But it shows you care about doing well, and that's not a bad thing. As they cleaned up the dishes, Alex noticed that Maya seemed more confident now. The rigid posture was gone, replaced by something more natural and relaxed. She was ready for her date with Ryan, even if she didn't realize it yet. After they finished cleaning up the dinner dishes, Maya seemed more relaxed. But Alex could see she still had questions on her mind. She kept glancing at her abandoned whiteboard and then back at him, as if debating whether to bring up something else. What is it? Alex asked, settling back onto the couch. I can see you're thinking about something. Maya sat down beside him, closer this time than she had been earlier. Well, we covered conversation, but what about the other stuff, like physical interaction? I don't mean anything inappropriate, she added quickly, her cheeks turning pink. I just mean, how do you know when it's okay to touch someone's hand or how close to sit? Or things like that? Alex nodded, understanding her concern. Personal space and physical contact. Yeah, that's important to get right. Too much too fast makes people uncomfortable. But being too distant can make you seem uninterested. Exactly. Maya said, pulling out a fresh notebook. So what are the rules? Maya, Alex said gently, taking the notebook away again. Remember what we learned about rules? There aren't really hard rules for this stuff. It's more about reading the situation and the other person. But how do you read the situation? Maya asked, frustrated. I'm good at reading computer code, not people. Alex thought for a moment. Okay, let's try something practical. Pretend I'm Ryan, and we're at dinner. Show me how you would normally sit. Maya immediately scooted to the far end of the couch, leaving a large gap between them. Like this? That's pretty far away, Alex observed. If someone sits that far from you on a date, what message does that send? Maya considered this, that. I don't want to be near them, right? Now try sitting a bit closer. Not uncomfortable close. Just normal conversation distance. Maya moved closer, but she was so stiff and formal that she looked like she was attending a business meeting. Alex couldn't help but smile. Relax your shoulders, he said. You look like you're about to give a presentation. Dating is supposed to be comfortable. Maya consciously tried to relax, but it was clear she was overthinking every movement. This is harder than it looks. It gets easier with practice, Alex assured her. Here, let me show you something. Give me your hand. Maya hesitantly extended her hand, and Alex took it gently in his. Her hand was smaller than he expected, and surprisingly soft despite all her computer work. See how I'm holding your hand? Alex said, trying to ignore how natural it felt. Not too tight, not too loose. It's friendly but not overwhelming. This is the kind of touch that's appropriate for a first date if the moment feels right. Maya looked down at their joined hands with intense concentration, as if she was trying to memorize the exact pressure and positioning. Okay, I think I understand. But how do you know when the moment feels right? You just do, Alex said. If someone is enjoying your company, they'll give you signals. They'll lean in when you talk. Make good eye contact. Smile genuinely. If they seem tense or keep looking away, that's a sign to give them more space. What kind of eye contact? Maya asked, and when she looked up at him, Alex realized she was studying his face intently. Is this too much? Not enough? For a moment, Alex found himself caught off guard by her direct gaze. Maya had beautiful eyes, dark and intelligent, and when she wasn't being analytical, there was warmth there too. He realized he was staring back at her, and neither of them had looked away. That's actually perfect, he said quietly, feeling an unexpected flutter in his chest. That's exactly the right amount of eye contact. Maya smiled, pleased with herself. Really? I was worried I might be too intense. People at work sometimes tell me I have an intense stare when I'm concentrating. This is different, Alex said, still looking into her eyes. This feels natural. They sat there for a moment, hands still joined, looking at each other. Alex found himself noticing things about Maya he'd never paid attention to before. The way her hair fell across her shoulder, the small freckle near her left ear, how her expression softened when she wasn't worried about doing something wrong. Maya seemed to realize the same thing was happening to her. Alex, she said softly, yeah, is this what it's supposed to feel like? This connection? Alex's heart skipped a beat. The way she was looking at him, the gentle tone of her voice, the warmth of her hand in his, it all felt very real and very different from a simple lesson about dating. Yeah, he said honestly. This is what connection feels like. Maya nodded, slowly, but she didn't let go of his hand or look away. I think I understand now. It's not about following rules or remembering techniques. It's about the feeling you get when you're with someone who really sees you. Exactly, Alex said, though. His voice came out a bit rougher than he intended. Can I ask you something else? Maya said, and there was a new kind of nervousness in her voice, different from her earlier analytical anxiety. Of course. What about at the end of a date? I've read that there might be a good night moment. How do you know if that's something the other person wants? Alex realized what she was asking about, and suddenly the air in the room felt charged with a different kind of energy. You mean like a good night kiss? Maya nodded, her cheeks pink again. I don't know how that works. What if I do it wrong? Alex found himself in an impossible situation. Maya was asking for guidance about kissing, but the way she was looking at him, the way her hand felt in his, made it hard to think of this as just a lesson anymore. It's not really something you can do wrong. He said carefully, if both people want it to happen, it just feels natural. But how? Do you know if both people want it? Maya asked, and she unconsciously leaned closer to him as she spoke. Alex's heart was beating faster now. Maya was looking at him with trust and curiosity, and something else that made his breath catch. The responsible part of his brain told him to keep this educational, but another part of him was getting lost in her eyes. You can usually tell, he said quietly. The moment just feels right, like this one does. Maya's eyes widened slightly as she realized the implication of what he'd said, but instead of pulling away, she stayed close, her gaze flickering down to his lips and then back to his eyes. Alex, she whispered, I think I need to understand what that feels like too. Alex woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Maya moving around in the kitchen. For a moment, he was confused about where he was. Then the events of the previous evening came flooding back. The couch wasn't particularly comfortable, but he barely noticed during the few hours of sleep he managed to get. Sunlight was streaming through Maya's windows, and he could hear her talking quietly on the phone, probably confirming details for her date with Ryan later that day. The thought made his stomach tighten with an emotion he didn't want to name. Good morning, Maya said softly when she noticed. He was awake. She was already dressed and had her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She looked put together and professional, nothing like the relaxed, vulnerable person who had fallen asleep in his arms on the couch just a few hours earlier. Morning, Alex replied, sitting up and running his hands through his messy hair. Did you sleep okay? Not really, Maya admitted, handing him a cup of coffee. I kept thinking about everything we practiced last night. Alex's heart jumped, hoping she meant she'd been thinking about their connection the same way he had. Yeah? What about it? Maya sat down across from him, but not close like she had the night before. There was a careful distance between them now, and Alex could see she was back in analytical mode. I was reviewing all the techniques we went over, she said, pulling out a small notebook. I made a list of the key points so I don't forget anything important for my date today. Alex felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. While he'd been lying awake thinking about how right everything had felt between them, Maya had been treating their entire evening like a study session she needed to review. Techniques, he repeated flatly. Yes, Maya said, consulting her notes. Appropriate eye contact duration, comfortable conversation distance, reading body language signals, and the physical contact progression we practiced. I think I have a much better understanding of the timing now. Each word felt like a knife. Alex watched Maya flip through her notes, discussing their kisses and intimate moments like they were data points in an experiment. The woman who had looked into his eyes and talked about real connection was gone, replaced by the analytical researcher he knew from work. Maya, Alex said quietly, what about everything else that happened last night? She looked up from her notebook, seeming genuinely confused. What do you mean? I mean the way we connected. The way it felt when we were dancing, when we talked about real things. That wasn't just practice. Maya's expression flickered for just a moment, and Alex saw a hint of a vulnerable person from the night before. But then she looked back at her notes, her walls firmly back in place. That was good practice for creating authentic moments. She said carefully, you helped me understand how to be more natural and genuine. I think Ryan will really appreciate that. Alex set his coffee cup down harder than necessary. So that's it. Everything last night was just preparation for your date with someone else. Well, yes, Maya said, though she wouldn't meet his eyes. That was the whole point, wasn't it? You were helping me learn how to date. Alex stood up, suddenly feeling like he needed to get out of there. Right, of course. I'm glad I could be helpful. He started gathering his things, trying to ignore the hurt and embarrassment burning in his chest. How had he been so wrong about what he thought they'd shared? Alex, wait, Maya said. And there was something different in her voice. Are you upset? He turned to look at her, and for the first time that morning, she seemed unsure of herself. What do you think, Maya? I don't understand, she said, standing up as well. Did I do something wrong? I thought this was what you wanted to help me with. It was, Alex said, his voice coming out more bitter than he intended. I just didn't realize I was going to be so good at my job. Maya stared at him, confusion clear on her face. Alex, I still don't understand why you're angry. I'm not angry, Alex said, though they both knew that wasn't entirely true. I'm just tired. It was a long night. He headed toward the door, but Maya stepped in front of him. Wait, please don't leave like this. Talk to me. What's there to talk about? Alex asked. You have everything you need for your date. I hope it goes well. Maya looked at him for a long moment, and Alex could see something working behind her eyes. The analytical mask was slipping, and the real Maya was starting to show through. It doesn't feel right, she said quietly. What doesn't feel right? The way you're leaving. The way I'm sitting here with my notes, trying to remember techniques. Maya sat down heavily on the couch. Alex, I think I made a mistake. Alex stopped moving toward the door. What kind of mistake? I woke up this morning and I was scared, Maya admitted. Last night felt so real, so intense. I've never experienced anything like that before. So I did what I always do when I'm scared. I tried to turn it into something I could analyze and control. She looked up at him, and Alex could see tears forming in her eyes. But sitting here, making lists of techniques, talking about our time together like it was just practice, it feels wrong. It feels like I'm lying to myself. Alex came back and sat down beside her, though he was still cautious. Maya, what are you saying? I'm saying that what happened between us last night wasn't practice for me. It was real. She took a shaky breath, and the thought of going on a date with Ryan and pretending to feel that same connection. I can't do it. Alex's heart started beating faster. What about your date? You were so worried about doing well. Maya laughed, but it was a sad sound. I was worried about dating because I thought I didn't know how to connect with people. But last night, you showed me that I already knew how. I just needed to be with the right person. She looked at Alex with the same openness and vulnerability she'd shown him the night before. Alex, I don't want to practice romance anymore. I want to experience it with you. Alex felt like the weight he'd been carrying all morning suddenly lifted from his shoulders. Are you sure? What about Ryan? I'm going to call Ryan and cancel, Maya said firmly. I'll tell him I'm not ready to date right now, which is true. I'm not ready to date other people because I already found someone I care about. Alex reached for her hand the same way he had the night before. Maya, are you absolutely sure about this? Because if we do this, if we try to be together for real, there's no going back to just being colleagues. Maya smiled, and it was the most genuine smile Alex had ever seen from her. I'm sure. I spent all night trying to convince myself that what I felt was just the result of good teaching. But the truth is, I've never felt anything like this before, and I don't want to give it up to go practice on someone else. So what do we do now? Alex asked. Well, Maya said, moving closer to him on the couch. I think we should probably go on our own first date, a real one, where we're not practicing or preparing for anything, just us, seeing where this goes. Alex leaned in and kissed her, soft and gentle like the night before, but this time without any pretense or uncertainty. When they broke apart, Maya was smiling. For someone who thought she didn't know anything about romance, Alex said, You certainly figured it out quickly. I had a good teacher, Maya replied, though I think we're done with lessons now. From here on out, we're both just going to have to learn as we go. Alex couldn't argue with that logic. And as Maya curled up against his side, he realized that Sometimes the best things in life happen when you stop trying to plan them and just let them unfold naturally.